Welcome back. We are at Radio Row at the New Orleans Convention Center, Super Bowl 59, pitting the Philadelphia Eagles and taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're thrilled to have Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, NBC Sports, stopping by for a quick hit. The toughest negotiator I've ever had to deal with when it comes to our gifts for guests. Because most guys come by like one cigar, it's not a bad problem. Like, everyone's happy with the one. Not Florio. He gets two out of this deal, which is, like I said, you're a tough negotiator.
I didn't even have to ask this time. I'd forgotten I asked for two. Here's why I asked for a second one last year.
Yeah.
I was going to be on Cam Newton's podcast, and he was upset with me about something that I can't even remember what it was. But I wanted to give him a peace offering, and I know he likes cigars, so I gave one to him.
Okay,
so
there you go.
I used the bargaining power to get a second one from you so I could take a peace offering to Cam Newton, and I think it worked. I think it helped. It helped break the ice.
That's why you have a law degree and I don't, right? Because you're a smart guy. You know how to work this angle. Hey, I got to tell you, I've been watching Pro Football Talk and watching your podcast with Chris this year. Man, I love what you guys do. It's so much fun. It's like Florio and Sims unplugged. How much fun is it doing the pod with Chris?
It's great because we aren't FCC regulated, so we can use whatever language we want to use.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll bleep out some of the words. Some of the words, when the show is re-aired on Sky Sports NFL in the UK and Ireland, some of the words make it through. And we have a very loyal fan base over there because they are so zealous about football, and they don't get much content. And they like our approach because we are a lot like them. We are willing to call BS. They don't like Good Morning Football because it's too USA for the UK.
Sterile.
We're perfect for the UK.
Yeah.
So we will humor them with certain words. They have certain words that they use freely that we can never use, but I won't go down that path. There's one in particular that comes to mind.
Oh, yeah. I went to a Premiership game, watched Tottenham Hotspur take on Liverpool. My daughter lives in London. And I'm like, this guy, I'm sitting beside him, and he starts using that word?
Yes.
I'm like, are you kidding me? You get thrown out of a stadium in North America so quickly.
And banned for life.
Yes.
So anyway, it's fun because we just talk football. And, I've got some other co-hosts that we've worked in where it's the same vibe. Devin McCourty and I, we just talk football. We have fun. Michael Hawley and I, we talk football. We have fun. Rodney Harrison. But it's Chris 3 days a week during football season, and he'll go, I think, back to 4 days a week in the off season, and we just have fun. We just have fun, and we understand, and because I wrestle with this, what am I really adding to the world, right? What do you contribute to society when all you do is talk about football all the time? But I hear from people who say, I've been going through a hard time, and thank you for being there every day. It's a constant oasis in a storm of crap that I otherwise have to deal with. And that helps. Hearing things like that where it just gives someone a way to get through. And I think anybody that's in the business that we're in. If you feel like what you're doing is useless, it's not, because there are people out there who have what we do as part of their routine, and they count on that as just the thing that gets them away from whatever it is. We all have stuff that we have to deal with. Whatever that stuff may be, however much, however little. You need a break from it, and we give people that.
Mike, you nailed it. And the reason I know this from experience, when our station in Vancouver, TSN 1040, changed formats and basically went off the air, not only me, but all the other hosts received these DMs, whether it was on Instagram, on Twitter, and so many people said, you helped me get through cancer, you helped me get through a divorce, you helped me get through COVID, you helped me get through depression, because it was an escape. We made them laugh. We entertained them, and you're saying the same thing, and I totally understand where you're coming from, because when you're on the air, you don't really think you're making that much of a difference, but when you get those DMs and you realize just how much of a difference you made in someone's life, it's heartfelt.
The brain is wired to develop a sense of familiarity with voices that they hear all the time and faces they see all the time. And, I see the reaction when I'm out and about, when somebody recognizes me. And a lot of it is, I know that guy, but I don't know how. But when it's people who actually follow the show and know the show, and you see how they light up because there's that guy that I feel like I know, I love that. I love seeing that recognition. It's not like it happens so much that it's a pain in the butt. But even if it was, even if it happened all the time, I tell athletes, don't be upset and don't be snippy when someone comes up to you and wants a selfie or wants to talk to you. They're the reason why you're in a position to make the kind of money you make and have the life you kind of have. And think about it strategically. the amount of time it takes to pose for the selfie is roughly the same as the amount of time it takes to tell the person no. If you do it, you got a friend for life, and you have an ambassador that's going to tell all their friends and all their relatives what a great guy you were. If you say no, you have somebody that's going to tell everybody they encounter, whenever your name comes up for the rest of their life, that guy's a jerk. Here's the story of how he was a jerk to me. So I don't know why anyone would ever act that way. I just think if you have any basic care for your fellow human being, somebody who knows you, somebody who supports you, yeah, take the time and do the damn selfie. Put your name on a piece of paper. It strengthens that bond, and that's what we're here to do in the first place, is create those bonds with people.
Mike Florio is our guest, NBC Sports Pro Football Talk. Mike, this week, what are some of the bigger storylines for you?
Well, I mean, there's never much hard news that comes out of Super Bowl week, and, are there injuries we don't know about? These two teams do a pretty good job of keeping things close to their vest. We know Andy Reid's not going to walk away after this Super Bowl. Last year, the Chiefs were preparing for the possibility that he would. Now, it might have been part of his contract negotiation, and he got a lot more than 2 cigars out of the deal that they did when the Super Bowl came and went. Will Travis Kelce walk away when this one's over? He says he won't, but you know what? That may be part of the setup, and you don't want to take away from the team. You don't want to make it about you until the game's over. If they would win 3 in a row, it wouldn't surprise me if he would decide to move on. There's a cinematic quality to knowing when to step off into your career where you're already making more money than you're making playing football. He's making a lot more money with his podcast, and he can do the film stuff, TV stuff. So as it relates to the game itself, I just wonder if the Chiefs can overcome what I think is going to be their toughest football opponent that they've seen in one of these Super Bowls. There's a point where Patrick Mahomes and his uncanny ability to deliver a big play in a big spot isn't going to be able to bridge the gap overall, talent-wise, between his team and whichever the opponent is. In this case, it's an Eagles team. Sims and I were talking about this yesterday. 22 positions, offense and defense. The Eagles might have the better guy. If you did the tail of the tape and check the box, they might have the better guy 18 out of 22 of the positions.
It's interesting, Mike, because I think it's almost a theme that we've seen in previous Super Bowls with Mahomes, especially teams that are superior talent-wise, like you said, check the boxes. I remember talking to people last year, you check this box, but they got Patrick Mahomes, and I think you nailed it. And I think the other thing, too, when you look at this game, can the Eagles perform just as good or better than the Chiefs when it matters most? Because it basically saying what you said as well, right, that Mahomes can't pull one out of the fire this time around.
There's a psychology to it, and it cuts both ways, and it benefits the Chiefs both ways. When you get into one of those moments, the Chiefs are going to be thinking, we can do this. We can do this. We've done this. We can do this. And you can have Eagles players thinking, oh, no, here we go again. We've been here. We've done that. I even suggested last week they should have chosen to wear white shirts instead of green, because they're going to look exactly like they did. But for the patch being different that designates Super Bowl 59 versus 57, the uniforms are going to look the exact same as they did. And there could be a moment, and you think about how complicated the human brain is and all the different inputs and factors that cause us to think. If you're in that moment in the third quarter, if you're up by 10 again and it starts to go, deja vu all over again. I've been, the Super Bowl, even though the Super Bowl moves from place to place, there's always that same vibe to it. It feels different, but the same year in and year out. It's got a higher profile platform, and you're back in that. And here we are, exactly 2 years after we were here, and they're going to do it to us again. I think that's. I said yesterday, if I was the Eagles, I'd have found the best sports psychologist in the world and brought that person in and have individual sessions with all the players that were on the team 2 years ago to break that idea, to come up with a way to get them to not think it's going to happen all over again, because that is a very real factor. That explains how the Chiefs can keep winning these games even if they might not be the better team.
Shameless plug for my guy. I don't know if you saw A.J. Brown reading the book On the Sidelines, Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy, guy that I coached in college football in Canada.
Wow.
Small world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have a few books of my own, and I was going to take one and leave it on the Eagles bench the following week when we were there for the divisional round playoff game, but I forgot to take it with me. but that would have been something. Nice little. And we're spitballing where this leads for the NFL. There will be an official reading partner of the NFL, and there will be reading material on the sideline. And anything else, if you use it, you will be fined. The NFL knows how to turn everything it can into a revenue stream.
Hey, Mike, before we let you go, of course, you're one of the top insiders in the National Football League. When you look at this offseason, what are some of the things you're going to be looking at, some of the questions you want answered?
Where does Aaron Rodgers go, first and foremost? How will these free agent quarterbacks play out? What will the Vikings do with Sam Darnold? Will they let him walk? Will they try to keep him? Will it be a Band-Aid deal? Will it be – I think he's likely to go, and I think they're likely to pivot to J.J. McCarthy. The draft – who will emerge as the top players? Will anyone try to make a power play? You know, the NFL's version of Halley's Comet, an incoming player pushing back against the draft, it comes around every 21 years. It happened in 83 with Elway. It happened in 2004 with Eli. It's due to come around again. And I wonder if one of these guys who has a bank account teeming with NIL money, will one of these guys say, I'm not coming to your team. I'll sit out a whole year. I got the money, unlike guys in past years. So I'll be curious to see if we see a power play from a team like that. And obviously Myles Garrett has now sucked all the oxygen out of the room as it relates to short term. What will the Browns do with him? Will they trade him? How will they go about doing it? So there's always something. That's one of the beauties of covering the NFL. Every day of the year, no matter what is going on, there's always something to talk about, and we do it nonstop. 365.
Very quickly, I guess we got you for another minute or so. Seattle Seahawks, a lot of our listeners, of course, Seahawk fans, a lot of 12s in British Columbia and Vancouver. What do you see happening with the Seahawks?
Well, you know, year 2 for Mike McDonald. He's made it clear he wants Geno Smith to be back. It's at a point in time where I think for cap reasons they need to extend that contract if they are going to keep him. They still keep looking for an answer at running back post Marshawn Lynch. It is a tough, grueling physical position. It is hard to stay healthy. They need to have a high-end running back who can perform on a regular basis. I wonder if DK Metcalf is a guy that maybe is at the point where he'd like to move on. You never quite know with him where the mindset is. There's enough rumbling from time to time that just would there be a changing of the guard at that position. But especially with Jackson Smith and Jigba breaking out the way he did last year. You know, they've just got to find a way to stay healthy and consistent. They were too inconsistent last year. They had some winning streaks, but the losing streaks ended up winning out, and they weren't able to get back to the postseason. But I don't think it was a horrible start for Mike McDonald, but where you go in year 2, I think is going to help shape how long he's going to be there.
Mike, outstanding as usual. And by the way, in case you bump into Cam Newton, I'm going to give you another one. That's a little Oliva.
Oh, wow.
So that's
right.
a little,
Man,
that's
see,
a little kind of like
you're a very bad negotiator. You're just giving him away. Your guy over here is like, what's this guy doing?
Hey, right. You know what? Just because you're so good, and that way you can. Now you've got some leverage out in the market.
I'm good. All right,
Michael. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, guys.